In my last video, I talked about GameStop's decision to refuse any mandates of lockdowns because they think they are essential retail. This was reported by Jason Schreier from an article from yesterday. And the way he put it is, the struggling video game retail chain GameStop told all of its stores this afternoon to stay open, even in the event of state or city lockdowns. The quote that was sent out in a memo to staff read, "Due to the products we carry that enable and enhance our customers' experience in working from home, we believe GameStop is classified as essential retail and therefore is able to remain open during this time." It goes without saying, such a statement is laughable to say video games are essential as, food, water, and medicine are. And then equally baffling is the way they told their employees that if local authorities come visiting in the stores in an attempt to enforce closure despite their classification, store managers are approved to provide the document linked below to law enforcement as needed. So they're basically telling their employees, if law enforcement comes around and tells you to shut down the stores and recommend shutting down, don't do it, fight them on it, show them this flyer. Ignore law enforcement if they come around and recommend a shutdown. We are too important for them to interfere with our business. And this came shortly after testimonials from employees who have confirmed that GameStop has not taken the appropriate hygienic measures to ensure the safety of employees and customers. They said that they'd send cleaning supplies and hand sanitizer, but a lot of employees have said that they have not received those. And so the general hygienic environment of GameStop right now is not in a good place, and that's all the more reason to not keep stores open during this time. A lot of GameStop employees feel this way, but GameStop doesn't seem to care. Even if an employee wants to take precautionary measures, unless they have a doctor's note verifying that they were doctor-ordered not to work, they are enforced to come to work, lest they risk their job. And amidst all of that, we're now hearing today, March 20th, 2020, that GameStop has decided to shut down stores in California. The following information was also reported by Jason Schreier, who obtained a note that the company had sent out to GameStop stores that reads, "We're closing our stores in California. The closure will remain in effect until further notice as we obtain more information from the California governor's office." So I'm wondering what changed their mind. Was it the public outcry and the outcry from employees, or was it law enforcement from a higher echelon coming down on them and saying, hey, no, we gotta shut down your stores, you're not essential? Either way, given the circumstances and with how California has been affected by all of this, this seems like the prudent thing to do. And keep in mind, GameStop isn't shutting down as a whole. It's just the California stores that have been shut down currently. And it's hard to say at this point whether the New York stores and, the stores of these major cities will follow suit. But it seems inevitable at this point, given the developing situation. Now, unlike many other companies who have voluntarily shut down stores across the nation to help the situation to ensure that the spreading doesn't get worse, to keep their employees safe, and who have also decided to pay their employees during these times, GameStop is not doing so, as reported by this article, which was recently updated with the following excerpt. 2 California GameStop employees told Kotaku that they've been told to use personal time or file for unemployment, as they will not be paid while stores are shut down. And as far as using personal time goes, Jason Schreier elaborated on Twitter that this is limited to assistant managers and higher. The rest will have to file for unemployment. And as you might suspect, the responses to this have been pretty scathing against GameStop. People talking about how GameStop mistreats their employees, how people who have worked for GameStop are not surprised by this, and that this is also indication of a dying company. We are still talking about a multi-billion-dollar company with CEOs and executives who make millions and millions in yearly salary. To say that certain sacrifices cannot be made to keep employees paid, for a handful of days or a couple weeks, I can't believe that to be true, especially when there are still operations going on. This has been just such a mismanaged company, and you continue to hear horror stories about GameStop employees experience. And more so now than ever, especially if you go to the GameStop subreddit, and I'll get to that in a bit. But this is just no way to treat employees with them not taking hygiene seriously before the store closures. And now with the store closures, them flat out just saying, yep, file for unemployment. And the handling of this whole situation is even more emblematic of a company that just doesn't care about its employees, about the ground floor workers. So with this story spreading, there's even more public backlash. Employees are even more pissed, and we're even seeing GameStop's stock tank by 10% over the last 24 hours. And so this whole situation is just spiraling for GameStop. Further rounding out this whole story is an article by news outlet Vice, whose headline reads, "GameStop instructs employees to ignore law enforcement and not shut down." This was from yesterday evening, before we learned that the company is closing California stores. GameStop actually did issue a statement to the outlet defending their decision to stay open. They said, while GameStop is best known as a provider of gaming and home entertainment systems, we also offer a wide variety of products and devices that are important to facilitate remote work, distance learning, and virtual connectivity. As millions of Americans face unprecedented challenges adapting to virtual learning, working, and interaction, there is significant need for technology solutions, and we are one of many providers of these products that are remaining open at this time. Schools, businesses, and families are now suddenly dependent on being able to connect through technology. While there are many businesses and organizations far more critical than ours, we believe we can have a positive impact during this very challenging time. The health and safety of our employees and customers is of utmost importance, and we have and will continue to take extensive precautions consistent with CDC guidelines. We are complying with all state, county, city, and local ordinances, and we will continue to adjust to any future developments. This comes shortly after the memo stating that employees should ignore law enforcement. And also this notion that they're actually keeping health and safety of employees and customers as the number one priority, that this is the most important thing. That's hard to buy when you consider the lack of hygiene in a lot of these stores, the lack of hygienic supplies, and the way that could potentially affect employees and customers. And GameStop still insisting prior to the recent closures that these stores lacking the proper sanitation remain open, putting people in genuine risk. And right here is a quote from an employee who felt pretty peeved by the memo GameStop had sent out, saying they've essentially said to disobey law enforcement in any state that shuts down non-essential retail, as they believe we are providing an essential service to people that shop at a video game store. GameStop excuse here is that, well, we don't just sell video games, we also sell certain technology that allows people to stay connected or something along those lines. But their main business is, of course, video games. It's the primary reason why people go to their stores. GameStop fully knows this and are mainly intending to use this excuse in order to keep stores open and have people come in to buy video games, their bread and butter. Beyond the fact that GameStop hasn't taken the necessary precautions and sanitary steps, it's the complete and utter bullshit spewing from corporate that's especially insulting. It is adding insult to injury. And I'll say again, nobody's buying it, especially GameStop employees who have taken to the GameStop subreddit to express their disdain against a company that just does not care at all. In my last video, I already talked about this post that has gained quite a bit of traction, talking about the current state of the international incident, how bad things have gotten, how other companies have dealt with this situation by adjusting hours or closing down stores. Meanwhile, GameStop, the way employees feel is that they're essentially taking advantage of the situation. Sales have actually gone up for GameStop during these times because a lot of people are buying games in hopes of keeping themselves entertained while they're holed up at home. GameStop knows this, so instead of prioritizing employee safety, they're saying everyone, all hands are on deck. And there's further confirmation here that sanitation supplies and hand sanitizers and all of these promised things were not, in fact, supplied. There's talk here of how GameStop is lying to everyone about them caring about hygiene and the safety of customers and employees. Here's a post from a user confirming reports about GameStop having issued this memo to ignore law enforcement. You can see right here that it's very much exactly the same quote that was first reported by Kotaku in their article, talking about how GameStop believes they're essential, and so everyone should continue to work and ignore law enforcement if they recommend that GameStop shut down stores. Here's another Reddit user who provided proof of the memo's existence. It is the exact same memo, worded exactly the same way, and this individual had this to say to GameStop: fuck this company. And the responses to these posts are filled with baffled former or current GameStop employees. A former employee said, what the actual fuck? And then a current employee said, what products do we carry that enhance working from home? What? Steam cards, V-Bucks, Steam Decks? Here's another GameStop employee who pointed out what essential actually means, stating essential businesses are ones that the public rely on in their day-to-day life. This includes banks, hospitals, supermarkets, pharmacies, gas stations, post offices, and the like. They carry supplies necessary for survival, both in the long and short term. I fail to see how we could be considered essential. Our main products are video games and collectibles. Here's another baffled GameStop employee who just said, wait, so GameStop really thinks we're gonna argue with the police if they come shut us down and tell them we are essential? Here's another disgruntled employee who sent a pretty strongly worded letter to George Sherman, CEO of GameStop. And you can read the letter right here if you so desire. Basically, it says, on March 20th, we're closing down the stores whether you like it or not. If you want us to remain open, we expect extra pay because of the hazardous conditions that we're in and due to the fact that we may be putting not only customers but our families and friends in peril. We're also seeing a number of resignation letters in the GameStop subreddit. So this Reddit user, who is apparently a manager or was, said, my resignation, redacted identifying information. I'm writing this to tender my resignation effective immediately, March 19th, 2020, as store manager of store blank. As much as I appreciate the opportunities that have been allotted me during my 3 years with the company, I cannot in good faith turn a blind eye to the appalling mishandling of the safety of both staff and guests, the blatant stance that corporate has taken of profits before people, clearly supported, and how little you have stemmed this tide of poor decisions goes completely against our own store procedure manual and is simply reckless. If we come out of this having managed to have avoided causing deaths, then that would be short of a miracle. Just so you can have it clear in your minds that what you expected of me as a store leader, then let me point you towards these two specific sections from the manual. And you can actually see very much in their manual that, quote, GameStop is committed to providing a safe and healthy work environment in every store and business operation. Safety is important to the health and well-being of all associates. Supervisors are responsible for maintaining safe work and shopping environments that are free of hazards for our associates and customers. Well, clearly none of that was taken into consideration with GameStop's latest decisions. And then here's another section that reads, no function at GameStop is so important that it requires a compromise of safety. Laughable to read when we look at the present circumstances. The letter of resignation continues. This last week especially has been a roller coaster of disappointments. Corporate has lied to its team and the public repeatedly, from the lack of cleaning supplies to CDC compliance, and now wanting to claim an essential stance from selling batteries and power cables. Not only were no cleaning supplies provided, but all teams were approached over this after panic buying had begun, making petty cash also an unviable option for supplies. Although business has been strong and with major launches on our lap, you all have betrayed your staff and let our communities that we serve down by having such a fickle approach to care for their health and well-being. So yeah, you get the idea, and just throughout this whole subreddit, you'll keep finding people talking about how they sent in their resignation letter. This Reddit user said, officially quit. I filled out my resignation on workday and went to my store to hand in my keys. So that's what the vibe has been like when it comes to GameStop employees who are understandably pretty pissed at the company they work for, the company that doesn't give a single damn about them. And sure, we finally have some store closures, which I think is a prudent measure to take at least for a week or two as the situation develops. But then learning that employees are pretty much not getting paid while stores are closed, despite GameStop still having a number of operations still active, and despite it being a multi-billion-dollar company with millionaire CEOs, I mean, it just couldn't be more clear that GameStop is an awful place to work in. That was already a well-known fact, but the way GameStop handles a crisis is especially telling. I suspect that we will continue to see more GameStop stores temporarily closed down in big cities in particular, and unfortunately, due to the company's mismanagement. You know, it's two bad situations. Either people get to work but risk their health, or they don't get to work and stay safe, but they don't get to make money, rather than providing the alternative that companies who have handled this properly are doing it, where they both keep their employees safe and they keep them paid well enough during these times while operations have to temporarily wind down in order to stop the spreading, in order to mitigate this crisis and incident. So yeah, this is where we're at with GameStop, ladies and gentlemen, and this is one man's take on the whole situation. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on GameStop finally shutting down stores in California and the whole situation surrounding employees having to either use personal time or file for unemployment. Drop a comment below, and to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out!